Hello, everyone, and welcome to this SWE Europe inspirational session. My name is Arpita Swer, and I will be your host for today and the moderator. Basically work in the Germany. I'm from Germany now, and I am basically from India. I have 16 years of experience in testing field and validation. So I now currently work for the 3D printers, and I work for the Equilibrium Additive, which is a GE Aerospace company. The technologies are totally different. I had a varied ranges of technologies in past working, and it's fun to be into the STEM field. So apart from my professional life, in my personal life, I have two kids. One is 11 and one is 1 year old. So extremes, both sons and my husband, and I do love cooking and dancing a lot. I'm a big time stargazer, but in my free time, I love volunteering. And I think that's the reason why I have chosen for SWE Global Ambassador role. And I like to do these things for the women in STEM upliftment. I also part of the test chat community in the testing side, and there I have led the women in testing wing. So yeah, I think today why I am moderating here and why I am the host, mainly because about the session title. So I am looking for a new role. Leap, and that's the reason why I want few answers, and I'm sure that Patrizia will be helping me here also to get some knowledge out of there. So I would like to welcome, and I'm really delighted to welcome her as our guest speaker. Her name is Patrizia Carpentieri. She is principal consultant at Arup. And if you want to learn more about our backgrounds, you can refer to the link in the chat, which would be posted. And as I mentioned, I can see many chats coming up, and who have come late. Please introduce yourself and just let me know where you are based in. It would be nice to know that. And as we go through this session, please feel free to share your questions for us, as well as comments, experiences, and ideas in the chat. Because after the presentation, we will have a live Q&A to address your questions and remarks, and then we will move to breakout rooms, so you can exchange your ideas with one another. And so I will now stop talking and would give the room to Patrizia. So Patrizia, welcome and thank you for joining us today. I have heard that you have recently transitioned from a technical specialist role into leadership. So we are looking forward to hearing your story.
Thank you very much, Arpita. Thank you very much for the great introduction, and nice to meet you as well. So
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to all the community. And I hope my story today will give you a bit of inspiration. Really looking forward to hear your story as well during the QA part. So just 1 second that I'm going to share my screen. I think everybody can see it, right, Arpita?
Yes, I can see it, and I will go on mute here.
Okay, thank you. So let's go to the very first slide. Today's talk is really about career change, isn't it? Because basically it's what is happening to me. And what I was preparing this presentation, I was really like, okay, I need to talk about career change. Where do I start? And the first things that came up to my mind, it was, what was the question that people were asking me when I was, a kid? And the question was like, what would you like to do when you grow up? And I was remembering the fact that I had a million of possibility in front of me. I could have been anything I wanted. I could have been a dancer, a singer, anything. And then I realized how these same questions later on became, what do you want to do for a living? And I felt that it was very different from when I was a kid, because this time we have a very narrow area of possibility. It's not like a world of possibility. And also another consideration that I noticed that I was not always happy to reply to this question. It really depends. If, for example, I was getting a promotion, yeah, I'm super happy to reply what I do as a job. Or if, for example, I was in a new role or something really exciting happened, I was very happy. But some other times I was a little bit less happy to say what I was doing it. So really today is to tell you what I did and what I'm trying to do to basically still be happy when people ask me, what do you do for a living? And before I deep dive into this story, I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. So, as Arpita mentioned, my name is Patrizia and I'm Italian. I think you can guess from my accent. I know I do have one. And I'm originally from Campobasso, a small city that is in the south center of Italy, well, the green pin is in this slide. And then all this blue pin is basically where I have been study. So I study a little bit across Europe because of my international master and scholarship. So I also really like to travel. So it was a good occasion for me. The red pin is where I start working. So my very first job was in Spain, in Granada, where I start as civil engineer. Then I moved in Istanbul in Turkey, where I started working as earthquake engineer. And then eventually I moved in London, where the yellow pin is, where I'm still here. And I started working as senior blast engineer in that time. So right now, I'm still covering two roles. So I have a very technical role that is principal blast consultant in Arup. And then in the same company, I'm also sitting in another team where instead I'm covering the role of senior design slash project manager for data center project. So as you see, basically I have a very technical role and I have also a very managerial role at the same time. And I will tell you more about this in the next few slides. Before I move really to my story, I thought it was good to also discuss about leadership as a topic in general. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of you will have different way of defining it and how to characterize it. So really looking forward to the QA also to get your view. In general, when I thought of leadership, the way that I see it is that it can be categorized in three groups. So we can have technical leadership, we can have people leadership, and managerial leadership. So let's try to define what are the main difference. Technical leadership, from my point of view, it is someone that is leading a team focused on a very specific technical field. And this person that is leading these kind of technical teams, they need to have a very deep technical knowledge on one specific field. And then when we think of managerial leadership instead, is not exactly the same thing because basically this time we have someone that is leading a team that is multidisciplinary. So we don't have one technical field. We have many area, and this person that is leading these teams, they need to have a very wide knowledge. So they don't need to have a very deep knowledge as it was, for example, the technical leadership. I think this is really the main key difference between the two. And then we have people leadership. People leadership can be, for example, line managers or resources, right? So basically someone that is allocating the right resources to the right project, depending on their skills. And this also means to care about the performance and the progression of people. People leadership and technical leadership can have an overlap, and people leadership and managerial leadership can have an overlap. So it really depends from company to company. So today I will tell you how I'm moving from the technical leadership part to the managerial leadership. So let's go to the key point, the key questions. So when we are thinking about career change, I'm pretty sure that there are key questions that we would like to get an answer. And I try to summarize the most important one for me in this slide. And then later on, I will go one by one in detail. So the very first one is when I'm ready to go for a leadership role. The second, what are the new skills I may need to develop? Third, which common pitfall should I avoid? And the very fourth one, how do I communicate effectively about my personal ambitions? So let's move to the very first one, that is when I'm ready to go for a managerial role. And I really wanted to start with this one because I heard many times people asking, so when is the right moment? The right moment is in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. When is it? But I don't think it's actually only about when. I think the real question here is why. Why do we want to make the change? Why we are unhappy? Why we want to do things differently? And when we know the answer to this why, we understand what are our drivers. And if we know our drivers, then we can basically know that when. That can lead to the when. And I think this is really the most important question here rather than the when. And another consideration is also not to try to wait for the perfect moment, because all of us knows that life is very complex, isn't it? We have our personal life, we have our professional life, and we wish that, all pieces of the puzzle are always perfect between one another. And because of that, sometimes we might lose opportunity that come in front of us just because we were waiting for the perfect moment that maybe will never be exactly perfect. So sometimes we also need to take that little bit of risk and try, otherwise the opportunity is just gone. And also, always relating to this when and why topic, I would like to refer to something that I heard many times from young engineer. So, for example, I heard many times, for example, civil engineer mentioning to me, it would have been so easier if instead of starting as a civil engineer in this team, I would have started my career instead in a project management team, because that means that I have a straight path in front of me, like the picture that you see in the left. And when I hear that, I have some consideration to make, because I know that it seems that when someone is already in a project management team, they have a straight path, bright sun as the figure, but it's not exactly as it seems. Because if we think a little bit deeper, if someone's starting as, I don't know, assistant project manager in defense, and then suddenly this person was changed to something else like transformation, finance, IT, always related to management, but to a different category, that is also a change, isn't it? So it's not always as it appears in the surface. In my specific case, as I mentioned, because I always started with a technical role, my path is more, as you see on the right side of this picture. So a lot of junction here and there, and a lot of possibility. So definitely it is not straightforward, that's for sure, for who is in a situation like mine. But one consideration I would like to make is that our past experience formed us and made us what we are today. And I'm really pretty sure that managers with strong technical background and experience can have an edge against generalists, because that technical knowledge really can help people even if they're doing a more generalist project manager role. So moving now to the very second question, which skill I need to develop? When I was preparing this slide, I thought it was really perfect, this picture that I found, because let's look at the figure here. It's written, it is a snake, it's a tree, it's a rope, it's a wall, and nobody was really understanding that this was an elephant, right? So if you all got it that this was an elephant, you know that this is system thinking, and is definitely a skill that is needed for someone that is covering a role like project management. And what was the difference before? So before it was a very technical understanding on one specific area, while now we basically have more the overview thinking and vision, let's say. And I want to give you an example. In my very first project manager role, I was on site, and I remember my very first task. My boss gave me a lot of things to read. And what I did, it was exactly what I would have done when I was doing the role of blast engineer. So I went deep dive into the detail in every single document, looking for the methodology, try to understand every single detail. And after a while, I was like, wait, hold on, why I'm doing that? Because in reality, I didn't need to know all the details. What I actually needed, it was just to understand what were the key points of each area, which were the risks of all this area, and then understand what it was the interdependency, so that if we know that something is happening in one specific area, so some a risk, for example, materialize, we can know the impact in others, and this is another example of system thinking. Then another skills that I listed in this slide, non-technical challenge, but people interaction. What I mean with that is when we are doing a technical role, is basically we are very focused in solving a technical problem. So that is really our key goal, key concentration. And then when we're moving to something else like project management role, we still have a problem, but this problem is not technical. Our main problem is to make sure that our team works effectively and efficiently. And to do that, we really need to have people skill. We need to understand people interactions. And that's what it means. It means, for example, to understand how are the different personality, the different character, how you interact with them. And you need to understand what are their drivers, their motivation, because if you know their motivation, then you get a connection. And when you get that connection, everything normally run smoothly. And then the very last concept that I would like to mention as skills is jargon and first principle of new discipline. To give you an example, when I was only working as plus engineer, my language was like pressure, impulse, time history, analysis. This was the language that I was using. And then suddenly I jumped in something else that was technical submittal, RFI, contract, fee proposal, build up. So you see, is the language is different, the principle are different. So I think before jumping in a different role as I did from technical to managerial, it might be helpful to have a training course or maybe to do some reading or even maybe just to talk with someone that already is doing a specific role. And so we can ask some key principle to understand what is the new topics that we should learn a little bit so that, we don't start out of the blue, basically. Then, which common pitfall should I avoid? So for this slide, I really would like to talk about, again, one of my very first experience as project manager on site. First of all, when I did this very first role in this new field, it was an opportunity that, didn't come to my door by itself. I really searched for it. I was using my network, and eventually I found it. And then when I went on site, I was basically suddenly leading a meeting, for example, of, I don't know, 20, 30 people. And what I felt, it was really to be intimidated. And this because this meeting that I was leading, there were a lot of senior people, they were all white, all men, and all British. So there was zero diversity. And of course, this was intimidating me. So I'm not going to lie about that. It was one of the challenges that I faced. And also, there was another difference. While before, as blast engineer, I was focused on my problem or my technical problem with my team. I was part of a team. Then suddenly, I was on site. And on site, there were not many people from my company. Maybe there was, I don't know, other two. And other people were all for different companies. So I really also felt the lack of a team. So again, this was, intimidating me and I was losing confidence. But eventually, by time, I built my confidence again. So it's just a matter of time. So what I wanted to tell you with this personal experience is basically do not wait for the opportunity to find you because it's very difficult that it arrives to your door if you don't look for it. Do not go alone and create your network and support system because with your network and support system, you can find new opportunities, but also you can manage ups and down situations that eventually you might face. Do not change overnight. This was really my choice, meaning that, as I mentioned, I look for a secondment. So I didn't move from a company to another company. I did a transition that it was within the same company. But I know there are some other people that instead prefer and directly change company and try a completely new role. And there is nothing wrong with that, absolutely. It's just, of course, a little bit more risky, but that risk can also be mitigated with some option. I'm sure about that. Then don't be afraid of lack of diversity. As I mentioned, I also faced it, but somehow you will build your credibility and your confidence over time, even if there is not much diversity. And do not be afraid of lateral move and step back. So for this very last point, consideration, is basically, it is true that sometimes when you're changing role, you are doing a temporary step back. But I ensure you that also from what I could see from my experience, that step back, it is really very temporary. And it is very temporary for two main reasons. The first one is that in any case, you will be in a position in which you have a lot of technical experience. And even if you don't know yet, that technical experience can really help you in a lot of situations. And the second one is that you are doing a change of career because you are strongly motivated. So when you are so strongly motivated and you also have a very strong background, you will go up normally very quick. So even if you have a temporary step back, it's normally very temporary, or at least this was my case. So moving to the very last question, that is, how do I communicate effectively about my personal ambitions? As I mentioned, I didn't wait for the opportunity to come. So I was looking for a secondment, and I was always very open about that. I was talking with friends, I was talking with colleagues, but I was not talking only with them. I was also talking with my boss, and I was explaining to them why I wanted to make a change, why I wanted to do something different, and what were my drivers, my motivation. And of course, I was also understanding what I could bring back to the team as well if I was going to do this change that was going to be temporary. And I'm not gonna lie about the fact that I was very lucky as well, because I was and I am in a company in which my boss really supported me. They didn't cut my wings. They understood that it was really important for me and I wanted to do. So they supported. And I know it is not always the case. So I'm very aware of that. So I cannot deny the fact that I was lucky on this aspect as well. But again, I always try to communicate very precisely why I wanted to change, and I'm normally always very open about that. Then, always related to communication, as I mentioned, I'm still today in these two teams, right? So one technical role, blast engineer, and the other one project manager, design manager for data center. And of course, sometimes I'm facing challenges. And one of these challenges, for example, is workload management. Because imagine I have a line manager in a technical team, but I also have a line manager in a managerial team, right? But eventually, the only one that knows how much I have in my plate, it's only me, because I have two different teams that not necessarily speak one with another. So again, it's really to be open about the situation and to be sure that the workload is somehow controlled. So it's really a key thing also for managing workload management. And now the very last question I would say is, what's next, right? Because as I mentioned, I told you I'm still in this hybrid situation with two teams. And the thing is, in my case, I really like the technical team for certain stuff, for some aspect that I really like, but I also like very much the managerial team as well. So I don't want to give up to any of the two, but I also want to look to the next career progression. And this is a little bit more challenging, let's say. Of course, again, I'm very fortunate, very lucky about the fact that both teams supporting me. But of course, it's something complicated, especially if you are, for example, in a situation like mine, where you have a very big company. So it's very well structured. So when you do something that is outside the company structure, you need a bit more support, otherwise things get complicated, while maybe this is not the case if maybe you're working in a small company. But again, I'm positive, let's say. I cannot tell you the end of the what's next because this is my new challenge at the moment. So maybe I will tell you what will happen in the next talk. So the very conclusion and summary of this talk is that if you're thinking about a career change, you have two possibilities. The first one, you can carry on focusing on what you have invested so far, and maybe you will never be truly happy. Or you can leverage skills to find your way and you can take the leap. And the first things that I hope you will remember from this talk, that I hope will kind of, help you to give you some tips, is it's not only about when, but it's also about why. So what are your drivers? Why you want to change? Identify the needy skill and make a plan. Be proactive and use your network because it's very difficult that the opportunity just come to your door alone. And be clear about your needs and be intentional about your progression. So thank you very much. Arpita, over to you. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank
Looking forward for the QA.
Yes, thank you so much, Patrizia. This was really inspiring, and the presentation was awesome. I like the pictures which depicted so many real instances. Oh, the elephant was the epic, I think. And I have few questions before we move to the audience questions. I see. Keria, you are raising your hands. Can you please give me few minutes so that I can ask few questions which I have to Patrizia and then come over to you? Is it okay?
Yes, it's fine. I just wanted her to show her last slide.
Yeah, so maybe last night, we keep it in this slide. And I would like to ask one question from the slide 8. I have pointed it out because I think it totally resonates me. You have highlighted how important it is to be confident and not to be discouraged by a lack of diversity. Why I can resonate because I come from a small town, as you are. When I was working in India, it was totally a cultural background shift for me. I was one of the odd one out in the group with different ages, same like you, I think. And now, I'm an expat, I think it's also for you, the same with the different cultures and community from east to west. So after listening to you on this, I would like to know more about how you navigated some specific situations in this scenario and how you leaped up.
Absolutely. Yes, I think we have very similar situation and background. I'm sure,
Yes.
Arpita, you also experienced that. So absolutely.
Mhm.
So yes, regarding, as I mentioned, diversity, for example, this experience that I mentioned before, that in my very first project manager role, when I was on site, I felt this lack of diversity. What I did really to try, again to build my confidence. Basically, I was again using my network. I was talking with my friends, I was talking with colleagues, even with my boss. And I was really asking them if they had some tips, if they have experienced a similar situation and what they have done. So, I was trying to get suggestions from them. And I got a lot of little tips, to be honest, that really helped me.
Mhm.
So, for
Mhm.
example, I remember once one person told me, you know what, Patrizia, when you are in this meeting and leading, a lot of people that you feel a bit not very confident yet, maybe just write down the name of the people that are in the room, so you will remember the names,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
write next to them something funny, like red tie, or I don't know, this is the guy with the funny shirt. So, you put it more in a normal dimension. Or, for example, another person told me, after the meeting, do not just stop there. Go to meet them, go to see what they do, start knowing them, so that if you know them when you are leading this big meeting where there is not diversity, it can help because you build your confidence, because you know a little bit more about them, maybe because you get like a connection. So sometimes it becomes easier. And then another thing is, to be honest, from my point of view, is also practice. So it's true that my role was a lot about leading meetings and discussion, etc. And of course, practice is really the key things, because the more you do and the better you become. So maybe if you are less confident one week, the second times that you do, you get a little bit more, the third a little bit more, and so on. So definitely practice really help. So a lot of little tips really, is not only one that helped me to face and to overcome this situation. Yes, that's all. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Patrizia. Actually, yeah, totally. You point it, and it's bang on that practice makes a man perfect. So, and this is obviously we have to practice on what we want to achieve. And first time it would be not, but the next times, or it would be grow better and better. So I can see many questions are coming in the chat, but still I want to get one question here from one of your slide, that you have explained that you have wore multiple hats, and that risks having an overwhelming workload on you at times. So can you explain us how you address this conflicts, because priorities are across different teams? So how you keep up the priorities? I do have the similar situation, and I don't know the key point how to achieve that. Can you please?
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, totally agree. Workload management sometimes can be complex to manage, especially if people are, for example, like me, between two teams. So I'm not gonna lie about the fact that it's always a little bit challenging, but there are like option to control. So, for example, to give you some practical idea, in my specific company, every week we have like the resource meeting. So we look at the business of people, but basically I have one call specifically with the technical team to go through my business with them. And then I have another weekly call to go through my business with my managerial team. If
Mhm.
you see, the problem here is that I'm having two calls rather than one. So again, I need to, everything needs to be aligned, but at least it open up easily the conversation. It's true that sometimes, despite this fact, maybe you have, I don't know, a very high priority in one team and a very high priority in the other team. So what do you do? To who you say yes and to who you say no? This is really when the challenge comes. So I have been sometimes in the situation in which both both cases was a yes, yes. And so when it happened, basically I tried to communicate it very clearly that I needed more people. So I got basically more people that could help me. And I'm trying, for example, to delegate my work to, I don't know, I remember I got like 3 people on the technical side. So, I was delegating. So it was not that much on me, and I could just overseeing and review. And then on the other side, on the managerial part, again, I asked for more people, for more resources to support, so I could delegate it more. Still, delegating takes time, but at least, it should be much easier if it's not only you, but you have a team or 3, 4 people that are supporting you. Your workload after a while is reduced, and you have the overview, let's say, and the review part. So there are options, let's say like this, although yes, it can be challenging sometimes. Yeah, I agree, Arpita.
Thank you. I think that the delegation part was really important for me because I'm now recently having this problem of two projects to handle, and I cannot say no, and the time limit is less. But really, this is a key factor for me. I think I would also ask for more people here. Thank you, Patrizia. And I will go to the audience questions, and I could see the first question is from Dorothy. Thank you, Dorothy. So the question is, Patrizia, for you is, you mentioned confidence. How important is this, and how to increase self-confidence?
Yes, so definitely confidence is something that it helps in any type of sector, isn't it? And anything we're doing it. So how I did, I think I really built my confidence over time, but it really depends. So again, is about finding tips and see which one works for you. To give you some idea, even just the fact of presenting, right, which is the things that I do most of the time now. I remember back many years ago, I was not so confident to, talk in front of everyone, especially in English, because English is my second language, is not the first. So I was doing a lot of exercise, like even in front of the mirror, because I realized and I read a lot of things that basically, if you try to have like a conversation with yourself, actually it's really hard. While when you're having with someone, it's actually easier. So if you try these mirror things, actually it really helps to build that confidence if you need to leading a meeting or something like that. And then it's again a lot of practice. So the more you do, the more you get that confidence and that the self confidence really increase. Um, Another things that maybe I can say is really also to try to challenge yourself. So I always try little by little to try something that is a bit more than my comfort zone. So I always try, to get to try that extra challenge slowly, like in something that I can still control. And so by step, by doing one at a time, by time you will increase your confidence for sure. And of course, networks and friends can really help to give tips. So my thing is always, to be open about these things and ask for help because everybody has a lot of, experience to share and different tips which could really help. Thank you, Arpita.
Thank you. Thank you, Patricia, and thank you, Dot. Actually, she have also mentioned the book. One of the book is a great book is The Confidence Code by Kathy Kay and Claire Shipman, and about women in work. So yeah, maybe it will.
We
The book
should read.
also would have. We should read. Yeah. Thank you. And I will move to the next question. The question is from Geeta Lakshmi. Is it necessary to look for the same qualities in others as I see in myself? Great question. Yeah.
I
Thank you,
see.
Geeta.
Yes, it's a very nice question. So, yeah, of course, we are all different, right? So, is different. I don't think we need to have all the same qualities. I think the beauty of diversity in general is having a team in which people they exceed in different things and they have different quality because then by working together, eventually you can find a great solution or a great team to work with. So not necessarily we need to have all the same qualities, to be honest. I think I would prefer to have a very diverse team and group of people with different qualities. Um, yes, I think really diversity is the key in everything. When there is a diverse team with different quality, it can really um, achieve better goals, yes, or better outcomes, or even better project if I'm thinking like from my technical perspective. So yeah, not necessary everyone should look at the same qualities. I think we can look at different ones.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And yes, I think diversity is a bliss when it happens in the team. So we get the best out of it. I think the productivity we get from. So I will move to the next question, and it is from Oluwatoyin. I'm so sorry if I spell it wrong.
Sorry?
And yeah, if I spell your names wrong.
Sorry, can I interrupt you? This is
No,
Geeta.
you're
Geeta means
correct. The name is correct. You got it
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Geeta, sorry. There
sorry
was a
to
disruption.
interrupt. Actually, I've got some network issues. I couldn't get the answer for my questions. Can you please read back, please, again?
Yeah, absolutely. No
For
problem.
sure, for sure. Yeah, no
Sorry for
worries.
that. Sorry.
I will come back to the next question. Yeah.
Thank you. No
Yeah.
problem. So yeah, I was mentioning that I don't think everyone need to have really the same qualities. I think it's really great to have also different qualities because it means that you will have a diverse team and a diverse group. And also we are all different type of people with different characters, right? So it's not
Yeah.
necessary everyone needs to, to achieve in the same things. I think the things of achieving and have quality in a different way, it's actually better. So I don't think we necessarily need to have the same qualities, absolutely. I think is the driver here is always kind of diversity. So someone can be very good in something and less in something else, and might be the opposite for the another one. And when they work together, that is the perfect combination because one's balance the other.
Yeah, I accept your point. See, example, suppose if I'm working as a team in one particular project. So finally, when we are delivering the project to the team, I mean to the business, I always would like to expect the same quality output from my subordinates. So there I'm facing some challenges. So that's why I put these questions. For some particular product to the business while I'm submitting, so how to handle this challenges?
So it's about the quality of deliverables that you get a
Yeah, yeah,
different quality.
yes.
Okay, yeah, that that is a little bit different. Okay, so for that part, what you could do, for example, I think I would try to get a quality process. So, for example, like a minimum standard, and to have like a very clear template, a similar project, for example, has exactly how you would like it to have. So you can give this template, this example to that person, and they can understand exactly what you're looking at, so they have something to refer back. So I think I will use definitely some template, but maybe also to have more technical review. So, make sure that you have someone that really maybe do more interim review rather than going to the final review. So you can make sure that if quality is an issue is captured at the very beginning rather than only at the very end of that product or project that you're doing. So I think the two things is I would try to use an example or a template, and then having interim quality check. Meantime that, this person that don't achieve the same type of quality can learn how to basically achieve that standard. I think I will do something like that.
Okay. Thank you for your suggestions.
No
Great.
worries. I hope it helps.
Yeah.
Yes, so thank you, Geeta, for the wonderful question. And I would move to the next question. The next question is from Oluwatoyin, and she asked, I think, did you ever have imposter syndrome? How did you get over this? Oh, this is
The
really-
difficult one to answer. Yeah, definitely. I think all of us sometimes we have this imposter syndrome moment, isn't it? I think when it happens is again this downs time. And what I do is again I have really a character that normally when something is not going the way I want it or I have a problem, I'm not taking this problem for myself. I'm normally a person that really share what is happening in my life. So what I do is just asking for suggestion and feedback from others, and also explain what I think, because sometimes it's also in our head, but then when we try to explain a situation, we minimize our problem because maybe it's not exactly as was in our head when we thought. It's like that when we talk about it, we kind of put it in a smaller dimensions. So my key thing is always the fact that I normally really open, and when I have a problem, I don't take it for myself. I'm really talking about that because I need to have a solution. Otherwise, I get mad. So I really need to talk about that. And I think that help when I have these imposter syndrome moments, let's say, that I'm sure all of us sometimes have. Yeah.
Yeah, so actually we have 2 more questions here, Patrizia, but I would request you to little bit shorten the
Sure.
answer
Sorry.
because we want to go to the breakout room and and that would be also a networking session. So I would move quickly to the next question, and it's from Maria. Balancing leadership responsibilities with personal life can be challenging. What practices have helped you the most to stay grounded and fulfilled in both areas? Amazing question. Thanks,
Yes,
Maria.
yes. Thank you, Maria. So it's absolutely very hard sometimes to manage, your professional role and your personal life as well. And it's difficult to have a life balance, it's true. And to be honest, I didn't really succeed very well yet myself. So what I do is like, I try not to have, for example, a company phone. I try not to have that because otherwise it's just another thing that I will just check. And I take out notifications like when it's from 5 onward, I don't get notification any longer on my personal phone as well. Or other things that I do is I start putting like gym time. So one thing that really helped me is like go to the gym and just try to do something different or go out. So I'm putting in my Outlook, okay, it is 5, you have the gym time, leave. And I have the reminder that say to me that I need to leave. But I do all of this because I'm struggle as well. So sometimes it can be really hard to manage both because we don't have enough hours in a day. So yeah, this is also a challenging for me, to be honest. So
Thank you,
maybe cannot
Patrizia.
give too much on that.
Yes, challenging to balance the weight, right? And thanks, Patrizia. So I will move to quickly to the next question, which is from Kinga. What would be your advice to manage and motivate diverse characters within a project team? Some people are very motivated and do not need much motivation in explaining why things are done. The other ones are very reluctant to their tasks. Thank you, Kinga. It's an interesting question.
Yes, it really depends on the task as well, I think. So I have in mind, when I'm delegating some jobs, I can see that someone is strongly motivated and do like what I ask in a record time, and some others just been days and days, and the task is just there because they're all really keen of doing it. And yeah, it's a little bit hard because, we cannot always do only the things that we like when we are doing our job, isn't it? There is always that moment in which we also need to do what we don't really like because we have to do it. So it needs to be kind of a compromise. I think as long as, we are not always giving to someone only what they really don't like, we give a bit of a mix, then you can see which area that person actually is more proactive and more willing to do it. So it's understanding what actually that person like, even just asking if this person maybe open up and say actually I prefer to do these sort of things, and so maybe that help. And of course depends also on the different character as well, so it's a bit of mix. But it would be great to understand what motivate that person, maybe by having a conversation or something like that, or giving to them different skills to see which one might be fit best to try to find the best way forward. Thank you,
So
Arpita.
nice. So nice stated. Thank you, Patrizia. So I would like to thank you again, Patrizia, and also thanks everyone for your wonderful questions. And really, it was a great discussion. So before we head into the breakouts, we have put a link in the chat for the session survey. Really, it's important for us. So please do complete this so we can gather a few feedback and ideas from you all. So now having heard lots from us, it's time for you to share your own experiences as we move to the breakouts rooms, where we would like you to quickly introduce yourself with just your name and where you work. Then we would like to discuss one or both of these questions. I will read out and we will also put it into the chat. What are the biggest differences between strong technical skill set and good leadership skills? So this is one question. And the next question would be, what do you think is the biggest challenge moving from a technical position to a leadership role?